lately it seems we're losing a lot of magicians, and for you, friends who you've known for years. I'm thinking just recently of Saul Stone, who passed away, and I feel
Yeah, he was 98 years old.
so. Can you talk a little bit about your memories of Saul? I mean, were you pretty good friends?
Well, I used to see him at least once a week. Those were the, I was going to say, those were the days. Those were the good old days, when on Saturdays, Tannins was mobbed. Uh, you would open the elevator doors in those days. I don't know how it is now. The way he was located, he meaning Tannins Magic Shop, the way that was located, when the elevator stopped on that floor and the door opened, you were in Tannins. In other words, it didn't let you off on a hallway there where you had to walk to Tannins. The door opened, the elevator doors opened in Tannins. That's when I remember I told you the story about the triumvirate, I called it. That were always there because the door opened, I see that right away. And the place was always mobbed. There were I don't think there were any chairs in the room. People were standing all over the place, and it was always mobbed. And he always closed on Saturdays at 3 p.m. And then at 3 p.m., we all marched to what we called the cafeteria. And that changed over the years. We stopped going to this place for some reason, and we ended up going to this place for another reason. And these places always gave us a little room in a back corner of their restaurant or cafeteria, because it ended up we were good customers. People would be buying coffee all the time, and some people would have dinner there. So it was all right for them to give us, an area. And that's where all these people that I knew all these years, and I saw Saul Stone almost every Saturday. He'd be there, I'd be there, and a lot of other known people, which unfortunately I can't think of at the moment, were always there. And when people who did not live in New York came either to work or for business, or vacation, magicians, they would always find out about that Saturday meeting, and they'd be there too. So I met a lot of very important magicians there.
Is there anything in particular that you liked or admired about Saul's style of magic, or
yes,
personally?
I mostly admired the fact that he fooled the hell out of me all the time, that he was that good with coins. He was interested a little bit in other areas of magic. And we always used to kid each other. He said, every time, Harry, you fool the heck out of me with cards. And every time you fool me with cards, I'm going to fool you with a coin trick. And that was our thing. We were very close friends. But when I say very close, it's not as if we threw our arms around each other every day. We'd see each other once a week, Saturdays. That was it. But we became fairly close. And Saul was the kind of person, if a layman walked over to the table, which happened occasionally, they hear us talking about magic, or they see somebody handling a deck of cards or whatever, and you knew they were laymen by their attitude. Or when a layman walked over, Saul Stone was the first one. Others did it also, but Saul Stone was the first one that said, Harry, do a trick for him. Mm-hmm. He would always ask me to do a thing for the layman. Now, I can't tell you why, but that always happened. And even when Saul occasionally wasn't there, he wasn't feeling well or whatever, somebody else would say, Harry, do it for these people. For some reason, nobody ever explained it to me, and I didn't ask. I just did it. Of course, I was happy. I was thrilled. One of my big thrills in life was to do a trick for a layman and for jaws to drop. Mm-hmm. That's why I always I saw that jaws drop. Wow, that's why I called some of my books jaw droppers. It became a phrase of my life because people would go, what? That kind of thing. So to me, that was jaw dropping. Yeah. And I was flattered that other magicians said to me, Harry, do a trick for them. So that was it. That was part of my life in my young magical years. You got to remember, I didn't know, and I'm sure I mentioned this to you before, I didn't know about magic. I got interested in magic, and you know this story. I saw a counselor at the park do a card trick, and that started my life in magic. But I was 11 and a half years old. And then I went into the army when I was 17 and a half. And all those years from 11 something to when I went in the army, I never knew about magic shops. It's when I got out of the army that I can't tell you how, I can't pinpoint it, that it suddenly, I said, oh my God, I found out about Tannins, Holdens, Abbots, Flossos. I never knew about these places. And that's when I started to go up and meet other magicians. And I started to fool other magicians, which was great because then people wanted to talk to me, all except Dave Vernon, John Sconti, and S. Leo Horowitz. I told you that story, the triumvirate. But it's interesting because John Sconti, not S. Leo Horowitz, Sam was his name. We knew each other over the years, but we didn't become, personal friends. I guess we were different types for each other. I don't know. But John Sconti, I got very close to at Dave Vernon over the years.